I gave you.
Start this meeting. Tonight, our invocation will be done by the Mayor Pro Tem, Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Wilkins. Mayor Pro Tem.
Will you bow your heads with me? Dear Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day, the warm sunshine and the cool breeze. Bless all of those that are here today. May you guide us as we conduct our city business this evening. Watch over us as we leave here. I ask this all in your name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Pledge allegiance. Before we go to roll call, I want to take this opportunity to welcome back our city clerk.
Amen.
They have filled in for you admirably, but we're glad to have you back.
Glad to be back.
Roll call, please.
You got it. Commissioner Way.
Present.
Commissioner Gleason.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Albright.
Present.
Commissioner Kaczynski.
Present.
Commissioner Wilkins.
Present.
Mayor Wheeler.
Here.
Thank you.
All right. Now we move to item 4, approval for the agenda. One addition I would like to make, 5M. Our October meeting is the same night as National Night Out, so we'll put that down as a discussion item about changing our meeting. Any other adjustments or changes to the agenda? Not seeing any, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Commissioner Kaczynski, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0. All right, item 5 is discussion items. 5A, proposed 5K run for South Granville and Hawley School on November 4th and 18th. This is Thelma Thomas Mungo. If you'll give your name and address for us, please.
Sure. Thelma Thomas Mungo, 1611 Irving Place, CREEDMOOR, 7550. So I sent an email over to City Manager Mike Turner, asking him for some guidance in the aspect of how to put on anything that I need to do with the city. And so, of course, his response was making sure that I come to the board, especially since I wanted to use some city resources. And those city resources would be CREEDMOOR Police Department. With that being said, I have talked with Chief Willis and kind of give him a little bit of what we were asking to do, and he was excited about the idea, but clearly still need to speak to you guys and make sure this is okay. What this is a 5K put on for the track teams for Hawley Middle School and for South Granville High School. Track, as I've talked to some of the commissioners here, we know that they don't really get a whole lot of money to do things within the track program for each of those schools, i.e. really the track at South Granville probably has looked the same since maybe when my neighbor was running cross country back in the day. It's grass and things of that nature going through the track. And so with a track and still athletes that lives in my home, I wanted to see if I can give back to both of those programs, understanding if he does go to high school here in CREEDMOOR, he will probably end up going to South Granville. So the idea is to have a 5K that will start from the Hawley Annex, go up to, which I believe is 56, make the left, go down, oh, there's the map, yes. So we're going to go all the way back around to the parking lot of South Granville High School, which will end in a party for the finishers, some great giveaways, tabling for different universities and colleges that will be there offering some information for the students and others who are interested, and some health and wellness tabling as well. So that's the idea. That's why I'm here. I will say I know I've gotten some questions, so I'll answer them. So there is already an email and conversation set out with the principal, the AD, of South Granville High School. I've already talked to Ms. Henderson, the operations from central office, and she said that basically it has to go through them. So the head coach for South Granville has already had the conversations with the principal. There has to be documentation that needs to be filled out. I will go pick that up tomorrow. That's how central office approves it. She said that the only reason why we probably would get pushed back is if they have something on that day, and as of right now, there's nothing on that day. For the annex, she said that there really no documentation to use the annex, but because we'll use them both on the same day, I'll just put that in the same application. This will go through my nonprofit. Everything at this point is funded by me. And the AD over at Holly is also well in tune to what I'm wanting to do, and he's in agreement to it as well.
Have you made connections? Is the sheriff's department involved in this too?
Yes, he's actually already ready to be involved with it as well. So I already talked with him last week.
Okay. Mr. Mayor? Hang on a minute, let me, is this, the kids are running, or is this people signing up? I'm just trying to get clarity.
No, sure. So everyone will sign up, so the registration will all be donations back to both programs. And so with that being said, there will be a registration, a website and all of that, so everybody will register. And then, those kids, I'll be reaching out, and I've already started reaching out to other organizations to have them come sign up and kind of give back to the track programs as well. So any and everybody can do this. It's a race walk, so not just a 5K run. And I really want to add this as well. I'm also going to do a smaller track, to have those people with disabilities who want to participate, who can't do the 5K, those EC programs. I've already reached out to the EC program here in the county as well, so those children can participate as well.
What is I see the 4th or the 18th, but what is your time frame?
So usually 5Ks are very early in the morning. I also know we're in CREEDMOOR, so I didn't really want to have it any earlier than 8 o'clock. So 8 to 9 o'clock is when I wanted to start it. A normal 5K for someone like my son who runs a 7-minute mile, this would happen maybe in 20, 25 minutes, right? So those of us who can walk it, it might take 45 minutes to maybe an hour, depending on, your walking pace.
Yeah, if I'm involved, you'll need to start on the 4th and end on the 18th. Commissioner Wilkins, any questions?
How many people are you expecting to have?
I would love to have more than 100, but I don't know if that will happen. All of the groups that I am going to reach out to, I actually am going to reach out and have already had contact with St. All's track team, since, of course, his daughter ran for us at South Granville, to see if their track team will actually sign up, participate. Same for, I have connections over at Duke with their track club, and of course with our track team that we are participating in. We have over 200 people that are in our track club. So I will expect that we have a lot. I have a goal of $7,000 to $10,000 to be ready.
Beautiful. Well, I think it's a great idea for a great cause. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Commissioner White, any questions?
No, I think it's a great idea. I've been with planning phases for 5Ks and stuff before, especially in Raleigh. They're, like you said, they start early in the morning, and you're cleaned up and out of the way usually by 11 o'clock. So it's pretty good, and I would probably say what South Granville and Holly should do is challenge the other schools in the districts that they run against. Say, let's all meet here together and let's get it done together.
Yes, so that's as well what I was going to do, because one of my children do go to Buckington Middle School, so I was also going to reach out to them. They do work against them. I didn't mention one thing, so when you say have them come together and have them run together, so that's great for the 5K, but also I'm going to have a 100-meter racetrack set up for everyone to pay an additional $2 to $3 to race against someone else.
Oh,
so
bragging
that would be another
bragging rights against each other.
Right.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
I thought that would be fun to do as well.
Commissioner Kuczynski.
So I think this is a great idea, because you and I have talked about how bad that track field is. However, I really am sorry that you had to come here tonight, because we have no authority on any of this. You've got to go to the Board of Education. They're the ones who own the property. So yes, going through the ADs and the principals and Stan, we can't give you permission to do this. That has to come from the Board of Education.
So just to go back on that, I'm not asking permission for the school property. So the email and what I'm stating is that when I talk to, city manager, what I'm asking for is permission to use city resources, i.e. the police.
Right, and we have a mutual aid agreement with the police, with the sheriff's department, so that's not a problem.
Okay, then that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Commissioner, please.
No problem.
Mayor Pro Tem.
I want to know what the Bridge of Granville County is.
So the Bridge is a nonprofit organization to get out, to kind of build the gap into information and different things throughout the county. So if we have, we've done several different things like, mortgage, information to help people try to figure out how to pay their mortgage if they're behind. We have helped folks get, their record expunged through lawyers and paid for that for them if they couldn't get jobs and be able to have licenses and things of that nature. We have set up different informational, settings to make sure that whatever things are happening within certain cities, i.e. we come here and have a board of commissioners meeting, and maybe a bunch of people weren't available, and it actually affects that community, we then go out to make sure that they understand exactly what that is. So we do a little bit of everything, but we are the bridge of information for the county of Fremont.
But shouldn't the band boosters or the boosters, at South Granville High School do that? I mean, isn't that raise money for their school?
So this year, because I am the chair of the board, the bridge for Granville County, and I'm a parent whose child runs track, this is something that I want to do. I will tell you, I've been here 17 years, and they've never done it. And as I've already stated, that the track and field program for both schools are not really funded, hence the reason why the track still looks like that.
Anything else? All right, we thank you very much. Look forward to seeing it go forward.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, 5B, wayfinding sign update. Mr. Frangos have that? Or do you have that?
Well, Alan Steinbeck has it, but Mike just talked to him and he may not.
Alan is on the way. He said they're planning to be here about 6:30. He got detained and.
Okay, well, would you like to just, we can just.
Shuffle him back a little?
Yeah, we'll skip over there and come back to it when he gets here.
That'd be good.
Okay, all right, 5C, presentation on location options for the CREEDMOOR Veterans Memorial. City Engineer and Commissioner Wilkins.
So the reason I asked for this to be put on the agenda is because we've bandied about with at least 10 locations in 2 different areas of the city, and the veterans organization has expressed a little frustration with why we cannot make a decision. So before I go any further, may I ask Mr. Griffin, if he would please come up, the chair, and say a few words. Good evening.
I lived at 2111 Queenswood Court in Fremont. I've been there for about 19 years. I'm a president of the Veterans Committee, and there when we buy out listen to bricks and
Banners.
We got a overwhelming response. Everybody loved it. You know, even people that didn't live in CREEDMOOR was enthused with the idea, because everybody had the same question: what is it going to look at? So, you know, we tell them that, you know, it's a different spot. So we just here to ask the board if we can come to some type of agreement as to the location. So when we do come to agreement, we can tell them
Here's what it's going to be.
This is what it's going to look like. You know, I guess we have to do a rendition of any common spot. That's the reason why I just wanted to come up and talk.
Thank you. And as I said, well, I'm hopeful that tonight we can agree to disagree, at least the majority of the board. We can come and select one location, but we're going to put the memorial, and we can get the ball rolling and get it done. Okay.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the board.
Good evening, sir.
City engineer. Left to right arrow.
There you go.
Okay. So, I'm here tonight to give a presentation regarding the location options for the Veterans Memorial Monument. And the purpose of our presentation is to inform the board of things that have been proposed. So far, there have been 2 proposed venues with 10 specific locations. And I also want to inform the board of the various pros and cons that I've gathered from several different people, asking them what they thought of these venues, these locations. Now, some of the pros and cons are based in fact, some are opinions, some are influenced by their specific perspective, some apply all the time, some only under certain conditions. But generally, they're based on looking at the current situation. But we know that can change in future years. So you're probably not surprised when I tell you that there are numerous challenges as I approach this project. The vision of anticipated use. People have different visions. Is it for large city-sponsored gatherings, or is it for private reflections, small informal gatherings? So then how do you weigh the importance of being visible to motorists or pedestrians or people that are visiting the venue? How important is it that it's in a quiet, secluded location? And then envisioning the changing landscape. You might look out over an empty field and say it looks really nice right there. Then trying to envision what you know is going to be built around it can be challenging. Now, some of the changes can be deliberate. We may want to mitigate some of the cons. Let's say it's not good because there's no sidewalk there. Well, we can add a sidewalk, but trying to envision what it would look like or how the ramp would fit in, that can be challenging also. And then, of course, population growth. What we consider a large gathering now could be very different 10, 15 years from now. So it's important to keep that in our mind also. So the venue options that were proposed were the community center, the locations 1 through 6, and last minute addition, number 10. And then Lake Rogers Park, 7, 8, and 9. I think there's at least 2 methods for approaching this. One method would be select the venue that you like the best, and then evaluate the locations at that venue. The other option is to look at all 10 locations and compare them, together. So these 2 options for that. So the CREEDMOOR Community Center. The pros. 2 paid parking lots, over 100 paid parking stalls. Outside of peak business hours, you have potential nearby overflow parking at some other businesses. It increased pedestrian visibility because there's more visitors that go to that location. And events that are centered around the monument, they choose to use the building facilities also. And then restrooms. Downstairs, there's a male and female multi-stall restroom. Upstairs, 2 unisex restrooms. The cons that were identified, most of the locations at the community center seem to have limited space. They're not really conducive for large gatherings right around the monument itself. And then some locations seem to be too close to permanent features, as in the building, that it may give the impression that it's an afterthought. It's sort of stuck in there. Lake Rogers Park. The pros for that is more visible from NC 56. Again, if that's important. Particularly location number 7. There's potentially more space for expansion of the monument site. Things that were mentioned were additional brick, service flags, benches, landscaping, and there's room there to design surrounding landscape to really showcase the monument. And generally there's more openness because it's a park as opposed to being next to a large building. And there's numerous cons to that location. Currently it's a gravel parking lot. I measured where people currently park, and it appears you have room for like 55 stalls. And there's less ADA accessibility at the moment. And it would definitely require some improvements regarding sidewalks, parking, and it depends on the specific location how much would be needed. And then limited restroom facilities there. There's a male and female, single stall restroom, that's it. It's not accessible 24 hours a day. Is that important? I'm not sure, but it's pointed out as a possible negative. And then security vandalism concerns. 2 of the sites are further off the road and it's harder to see at night. And then goose droppings were an issue. I guess geese hang out at a couple of those locations there. So those are the pros and cons that apply to the 2 venues themselves. So looking at the community center, to orient yourself, on the right-hand side is lower parking lot, left top corner, upper parking lot. So all the way on the right-hand side, you see a red number 1. The red numbers of the locations, the green letters are the viewpoint where the pictures were taken. So zooming in on the right-hand side, number 1 is right by the existing flagpole and bricks. And then number 10, the last minute addition, is generally that whole grassy square surrounded by sidewalks. So I'm standing where the green A is, And those two cones are 6.5 feet apart. Paying attention to the one on the left, I got photobombed by the third cone. Doesn't represent the height, but it does represent the width of the monument. And then a little bit closer in, looks like that. So the pros and cons identified there. It's very accessible from the lower parking lot. The existing flagpole is right there, and the brick, 88 parking is nearby, and it's a familiar location. We've already made the investment at that spot. The cons, well, there's very limited space between the sidewalk and the future drive. Maybe I should emphasize that. The purple lines on the right-hand side, this dash line, that's the future 10-foot access drive to the field. So you can see number one is pretty tightly squeezed in there. So there's not much room between those two for benches or landscaping. There's limited parking, assuming the lower parking lot only. I believe it fills up more with different events. Noise from traffic or gym patrons. Proximity to youth and future driveway may invite unwanted use or damage if people pull in there. Someone else suggested it may require the flagpole to be relocated further toward the wood line. Number 10, I don't have thumbs up on this one because there's so many options where it could actually be, but the top grassy square next to the building would be number 10. And again, the top grassy square, number 10. So location number 10, the grassy square. Very similar, it's accessible from the lower parking lot. Existing flagpole and bricks may be able to be incorporated into it because they're so close. 88 parking is nearby, familiar location. And this area is large enough to provide flexibility with placement and how you orient it in future additions, whether they're service flags, benches, landscaping. And I'm told that it was previously designated as a CREEDMOOR Memorial Park. I guess nothing's ever done with that, but it did at one point designate it as that. Cons, limited parking. A portion of the area is sloped toward the yard inlet. Not a huge portion, but a segment of it is. And then get noise from traffic, gym patrons. After I put this together, I had another idea. Combining 1 and 10. If you take 1 and a portion of 10, then you can have more of a plaza. So 1 might give you the immediate short term, you install the monument where I show it on number 1, officially designate a portion of location 10 for a future plaza. Then you delineate with landscape or some other method just to show that this whole thing is the future Veterans Memorial Park. And then in the future, whether it's 1 year, 5 years, 10 years,
Carl, can you go back and pull up that with the shows 1 and 10? Yeah.
So if you put the monument where number 1 is, and then mark off, let's say, half of number 10 for future things to be put in there, it takes care of the biggest negative with number 1, which is the lack of space between the sidewalk and the future drive. At first, it seems sort of odd to have the sidewalk between the monument and the rest of it, but downtown Raleigh at Capitol Square, every monument has a walkway all the way around it. No matter where you sit, no matter what monument you look at, people could walk in front of you because you need to be back a bit to appreciate the size of it. So I don't think it would be out of line to have a sidewalk between the monument and benches or the rest of the area. But like I said, just a last minute thought that I had that has some value. So, moving along. The next one, 2, 3, and 4 are sort of clustered together on the left-hand side. 2 is at the toe of the slope. 3 is partway up. Those cones are lying on their sides. Can't really see them too well. And number 4 is inside the garden, right behind the wall. And then standing up on the desk behind the senior center, looking down at the garden, that would be number 4 in the garden. So the pros and cons. Number 2, the central location. They can utilize both parking lots, garden planting, and the retaining wall. They could be used as an aesthetic background. But then the negatives that were pointed out is really too close to view from the sidewalk. It's a very cramped placement. And then accessibility. Yes, you have 2 parking lots to use, but it's the furthest to travel from the parking lot. And then after the playground and pavilion are built, which that was planned to be the other grassy square, not quite a square, but grassy area, then it'll be obscured from view. So like I said, envisioning the changing landscape can be hard. The first day we looked at it, I didn't know about the future playground. The noise from the playground can be a negative, proximity to youth may invite unwanted, use or damage, and then limited space for additional bricks. Partway up the slope has some advantages, besides visibility, and a little more security. People aren't walking right next to it, they're less likely to accidentally damage it. But then it has some serious cons associated with it. It would require an engineered foundation adding to the cost to ensure the integrity of the slope and the retaining wall are not compromised, and also to make sure that erosion doesn't undermine the foundation of the monument base. It's still fairly close, noise could be an impact. And people, they love to have a picture taken next to monuments. And if it's halfway up the slope, you're encouraging unsafe behavior. Then walking up the slope, and then also going to damage the vegetation, which is needed to keep erosion from happening. Then, number 4, in the garden, high visibility, you can see it from across the other side of the field. Existing plants could be part of the monument site. It could be the Veterans Memorial Garden. It could be quieter, further from the playground. But then the negatives of that, ADA accessibility. It can be viewed from the senior center deck. You look down at it. But it is sort of a cramped place for viewing. And then the question is brought up, well, if people are looking at it from in the garden, taking pictures of it from in the garden, does it need to be double-sided to allow viewing it from, down the bottom of the slope? Well, that silhouette in there, that may be suspicious. When you look at it from a distance, you can see, what it is. You probably couldn't read anything anyway, so that may not be an issue. Limited space in the garden unless the planting area is reduced. All right, then moving over to 5 and 6. 5 is at the top of the hill, next to the steps going down. Oh, there's Chris's consultant up there on the steps. Come down and give me a hand. And zooming in a little bit, it would be up there on the hill, overlooking the field. So what are the pros and cons of that one? Well, it's very accessible to the upper parking lot and the senior center. Highly visible location. There's some room for benches and landscaping, ample parking, 88 parking stalls nearby. But the cons, it's overshadowed by the existing concrete building, the former concession stand turned storage building. And it's all, the space is confined between the sidewalk, the slope, the property line, and the block building. It's fairly close to the HVAC unit. And again, that could be addressed with a noise or a visual barrier or noise barrier. And again, would you need a two-sided monument or not? Because you could view it from the field. That gives you that option of which way it was facing. So close to that would be number 6, and that is put it where the block building currently stands, right there. And of course, it could be oriented a variety of different ways. The advantage of that, well, it provides a foundation for the monument. It repurposes a very prominent location. The remainder of the foundation could be covered in plain brick until the graded ones are available. It's the most visible location, and you have options for how it's oriented. Very accessible from the upper parking lot and the senior center, ample parking. However, the cons, it requires demolition of the existing building, time and money. It requires a replacement storage facility, because that building is being used to store things. And it's so close to the trash can collection point that would need to be moved also. And when it's moved, it needs to be upgraded to a dumpster pad. The slab surface would require some preparation, evening it out, plugging floor penetrations. So there's a lot of cost associated with that.
Carl, not to pinpoint you, but can you ballpark what that would cost?
I have no idea, sir, to be honest with you. I haven't looked at that at all. This is just an idea at this moment. It would require some investigation to confirm the feasibility of reusing that foundation, and of course the cost, if you want to pursue that would take a little bit. Demolishing it is one part of it, and what kind of replacement storage facility do we need? But we could come up with some sort of ballpark.
Sounds expensive.
And then the time also. I mean, it's time in. But there are definitely some advantages to that. So looking long term, I mean, I would consider it. So moving down the road to Lake Rogers, you'll see a red number 7 little left of center with that big grassy field, and then there's that 8 on the right-hand side right at the corner of the park, and then 9 is by the existing flagpole. Zooming in on 7, photos will be from H, I, and J. So looking up, zooming in a little bit, lined up with the gate. Then looking at it from where the boat ramp is, looking down towards 56. And then standing on the sidewalk on 56, looking across the entrance road. So what are the pros of that one? Well, it's highly visible from NC 56, spacious field for events, room for growth with service flags, flags, bricks, benches, etc., and distance from other structures. The way I describe it, the monument would own the space rather than share the space. There's nothing else around it. The cons, well, it would require sidewalks and ramps, and there could be significant noise from traffic if you're trying to have a quiet, solemn event there. And the geese like to visit this spot, so it was the point out we may require fencing or some other deterrent to keep them away. But we have to make sure we don't impede any dam maintenance of the access over there, so that the whole spot couldn't be used for, you have to reserve some of it to get in there to get staging area for equipment if needed. The next one there is over at the corner of the property. Number 8, there's a very small shelter. It has just one picnic table underneath it. So looking at it up from the playground area, zooming in on it right there. And then from, as you come in the entrance, it would just be visible over the parking lot. So the pros of that one, it's at the corner of the park, so it's quiet, secluded. If the shelter was moved, the existing slab could be used as a foundation. But then the cons are what could change in the future. It's right next to private property, so a residential structure could be constructed fairly close to it. Its visibility is important. It's not that visible from NC 56, and that means it's more susceptible to vandalism. And if vehicles are parked in front of it, it obstructs the view of it and the view from it.
Before you go any further, can you go back to viewpoint L? Right there to the right. Is that a drainage pipe?
No, there's some large rocks there, and I don't know if is that a garden or a...
It's a garden rock area.
Okay, so there's no drainage or anything like, it's just rock?
I think it used to be a garden. There's some bushes in there, just a rock retaining wall around it.
Yeah, but no drainage of any kind, no piping?
No, that's behind where I'm standing, because that's still on a slope up there. There's a yard inlet behind where I stood to take a picture. Maybe on it there.
Yeah, see, I just couldn't tell what exactly other than rock, but it looks like it's got a smooth area there, which could have been piping, so that's why I was asking. Thanks, sir.
Okay, then the last one is number 9, the flagpole. So pictures from across the parking lot, the playground, and a bench on the side. That's from across the parking lot, and there's the cones. Looking at it from the bench on the side, and again, you can orient it parallel to the parking lot or perpendicular to the parking lot. And then down at the playground area, and of course, it could face the parking lot or it could face the playground, so there's options with how it's oriented. So, it's open on 3 sides, which gives us the flexibility for future things there. Existing flagpole would be incorporated, and it's fairly visible from NC 56. Negatives, well, the ground is sloped towards the playground on one side, and if vehicles park in front, again, it obstructs the view from it, or the view of it, or from it. And while it is somewhat visible, it's still back away, so susceptible to vandalism. And some existing bricks may need to be relocated. It looks like they're not all veteran-oriented on this, they're just donations or what the backstory is on those. And the geese like to visit this place also. And several parking spots would probably be lost if you had the monument right there, just make sure they didn't park right there in front of it. And it's really close to a permanent structure, there's a large picnic shelter next to it. So, in conclusion, I'd like to say the concept of a master plan is to design everything before constructing anything. It deconflicts uses by illustrating what the final product is going to look like. But there's a cost associated with it. And as it decreases as you approach having complete construction drawings. So there's a risk if you proceed without the master plan. You may overlook fatal flaws with proposed facilities. You might create conflict between uses, events, or competing interests. And public facilities may appear to have been laid out in a haphazard manner as opposed to part of a holistic plan. So I would urge the board to please proceed with caution, evaluate all the what-ifs for each alternative, consider the different uses. Is it a quiet area for reflection, or is it going to be held for large public gatherings? And of course, remember, those large gatherings will be much larger 10 to 15 years from now. So, are there any questions for me, or do you want me to jump around the slides?
Can you go back to number 5, please? That is consensus for the Veterans Organization. Number 5, I also favor number 5, although I will say I'm somewhat intrigued by 1 and 10. So I'm asking the board, if unless you have any other locations you favor, can we look at 5 and the combination 1 and 10?
Mr. Kaczynski, any input?
We really don't have the final number for this monument because it's still, and Carl, I'm going to drag you right into this. We still need to put a cement foundation before we even we can't just place it on the ground, correct?
That's correct.
It's like a headstone, you have to have a footer foundation. So we got to get that price yet. I like this idea from the very beginning, this spot, because it's close to the senior center, and we are going to move the garbage cans. They got to be moved. That's a whole nother issue, but they've got to be moved. I've liked that spot from the beginning. It is going to be, we have to decide which way it's going to face. I'm assuming it's going to face the buildings in the parking lot. So it's going to have an empty side on the back. But, and as far as the master plan goes, I've asked for a master plan several times for that entire piece of land down there and ask that we do nothing else until we get a master plan. So, but I don't believe that putting it there will interfere with any master plan. One thing I will not vote for, I will never vote to pull that concession stand down. We just had Public Works put a new roof on that building, and there's no storage at the community center at all. That building has got storage in it. I don't want to see an aluminum building or a wooden building, storage building down on the field. We've got enough going on down at that field, and I know that someday we're going to need more storage because we still don't have enough storage at the community center. But I like this position. I think that is a great spot, and I like that the best.
I think that's 2 out of 5.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Yeah, I don't like this position. I think it's ugly. I told Chris that before. I wasn't being ugly. I don't like it. I think I think with the pole being there and the sand of the washout and stuff like that, I would vote either for 1 and 10 or down by the flagpole at the lake.
All right, thank you, ma'am. Mr. Gleason.
Go back to 10, please.
1 and 10?
Yeah.
No, I guess I'm off. The one at,
1 and 10,
Roger.
short.
One at Lake Roger.
the large field at Lake Roger.
Oh,
The most expensive lawn in CREEDMOOR?
just stop.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
100%.
All right. First, let me say, thank you for putting this together, because it's really nice to see pros and cons and not just look at pictures and say, and it's a memorial to our veterans,
to all of the veterans of Creedmoor that have been here long before we were here, and there will be sadly more veterans, I'm sure, after I'm gone from here. Just of my involvement in memorials, not so much for veterans, but for police and firefighters. My opinion was always to make them as visible as possible to everyone. I guess I really would look forward to the input from the veterans organization as to what their thoughts were. Are their thoughts of putting it in a place like at the top of the hill by the stairs between the storage building and the sidewalk, where it is out of public view 90% of the time? Or is it their wishes that we put a memorial in the city that's visible to the public as many hours of the day as it can be visible? And again, it's gonna be those 5 people are gonna make a decision, which is kinda hard. I would really like the veterans to have at least a vote on it. But my particular opinion would be at Lake Rogers, where we have more expansibility, we can light it, we can really make it visible to the public, and it will be visible 7 days a week, 365 days a year by everyone.
Mr. Mayor, as I mentioned before, the consensus is spot number 5 for the veterans organization. The chair and the co-chair here if they want to come speak.
And I understand that, but I want to give everybody a chance
I was
to
just,
voice their opinion.
no, Ed said he wanted their opinion, so that's why I mentioned that.
Mr. Way?
I feel it's not my place to sit here and decide where a monument's gonna go for veterans when we have a committee of veterans that know best what's a solemn location for them to reflect. I would go with whatever decision that the veterans organization feels is good for them. I will take into account what Commissioner Gleason said. Most monuments are locations that are accessible where most people can see it. With that being said, if the monument was put there, you can put a flagpole there. You can have room to put flagpoles for other branches of service. You can lights to illuminate it. It'll just take some reworking. As far as the building goes there, I mean, if it's being used for storage, and that's the only purpose, then why do we need to keep it?
There's no storage down there at all.
Then we should find some place to put storage stuff. I mean, if you're gonna put a monument and you got an air conditioning unit on your left side and you got this concrete building on your right side, and you want me to go and reflect and maybe think about the service that my grandfather did in Korea, you know, I'm torn between it because I've gone to Washington D.C. I've seen the monuments. I've seen the look that veterans have in their eyes when they see these places to reflect upon, of places that I've never been to, but they have, and those memories. So if spot number 5 is what the consensus is for our veterans, then, you know, so be it. My choice is whatever our veterans organization wants to do with it.
Thank you, sir. Have we considered the center of our, what was it, $30,000? Huh?
30,000.
For the, no, I'm not talking about anything but our grass.
Oh, the $3 million.
Yeah, whatever that was. Yeah, it grows every time we discuss it. What I was wondering about is, and it's something that isn't, and I hate to throw a monkey wrench, but I was wondering, first off, I was against having it anywhere except out there at the memorial Park, which is where, you know, I mean, it's the Veterans Memorial Park, that's where your Veterans Memorial should be. However, I was thinking that if we could put it in the middle of our $33 million yard, we could have plenty of places to decorate around it, put some lighting up, plenty of places for people to sit and picnic. I know that's not a space on here, but that sure would give us a large area, and we already have the memorial bricks and the flagpoles down there. We can put a flagpole here and put it right in the middle of that lot and give plenty of room for do whatever you wanted to, and you'd still be able to see it from the road, and people coming up 56 would see it. Anyway, I know it's late to throw that in there, but what I would really like to do is see our master plan for Battle Roberts Field, to get a feel for wherever we put this monument, where everything else is going to go first. But, as it's been pointed out to me, I have no say-so in this, so it's kind of whatever y'all want to do.
And again, I'd really like the consensus from the board where we're gonna put it tonight, if possible. And number 5 is the consensus of the Veterans Organization.
All right. Do we need a motion?
Need a motion, Kevin? or-
That is a discussion item.
Yes, can I ask something
Yeah.
before we move on? So you're gonna put it up there, on the top of the hill by the steps. And then what is your, as the board, what is your, like your other progress? What do you see up there? Do you have drawings? Do you have things that you have in place for that?
I mean, this is preliminary things, but we looked at the spot, now this never came up.
Like Rogers, yeah, that was late.
So do you think if you brought your board together that they might have other opinions on all these other spaces than just the top of the stairs?
And you may have to, and I was just talking to that was another, I guess you call it an option.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, that's a nice spot, like, the mayor said, only mildly, and this is just me. It's in the dip, when it rains, the water stay in that area.
Carl, is it retained water over there?
I think it drains pretty well down.
That spot,
I think it drains down, because it slows down.
right down to the dam,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Mhm.
But then you think if if it does have a little dip to it, are we gonna have to build a ramp? Are we gonna have to build stairs to go down to it? How are people gonna go if they have a wheelchair or if they have crutches or something like that? I mean, that's something you have to think about as well.
Well, on that, the dip is not bad enough where you can't drive down there. So, yeah, you would have to put a ramp
Sidewalk.
or a sidewalk, but it shouldn't have enough of a dip in there where it'd be a difficulty for somebody to walk up a sidewalk or some steps or something to it. If I can take a Tahoe and drive it off that drive and down into that dip, then it should be that difficult to put a walkway.
Have you done that?
Huh?
Have you been doing that?
I did do it one time because there's nowhere else to park.
Okay.
What I would like to do, and this is consensus of the board, is that we send it back to the Veterans Organization, let them reconsider that spot and all the other ones, and get a little more definitive picture on what you're looking for at Site 5 or 1 and 10 or whatever. I understand there's consensus of the board, but also understand there's a consensus that we want the Veterans Organization to be extremely comfortable with what we're about to spend a ton of money on.
And Mr. Mayor, as I said before, we have the consensus of the Veterans Organization, and I would like a vote on the item, like number 5.
The Veterans Association is also saying they would like to consider some of the other. And this is a work session,
I know,
not a vote session, so.
We'll see what we got, and,
So what does that mean? You're just gonna stay with number 5?
yes.
So can that be brought up for a vote in our next legislative meeting?
There's no vote though.
Legislative.
This is a discussion meeting, and I think it's not gonna make it, I know I probably can, but, it's not gonna change any. We have the consensus, and we'll just put it on the agenda for the first meeting in October.
Sounds good.
We have the consensus.
Yes.
It's just a question of doing it at a.
And I'd also myself, I'd like to see some more foundation of what else you plan to do there with that.
Yeah, I'd like to see
And
that
if
too.
so,
That's good.
if you plan on being there, and how you're gonna raise the money to have that building taken down if that so happens to do that.
We didn't say that.
I don't think that,
No one said about taking the building down.
well, they did say about taking the
Well,
building
yeah,
down.
but that was location 6, not 5. 6 would take the building down. Yes, but 6 would take the building down, not 5.
All right.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you, Carl, great job.
Carl, excellent job. Thank you, sir. But when you have your next veterans meeting, do consider 1 and 10, because it did get some interest. Also consider the one I pointed out. My father was a chief petty officer in the Navy, troop transport ships, got terribly seasick, so he had to stay in the bottom of the boat. But I'm supporting this, whatever, but I want everybody to be happy with the decision that's made and not be second-guess themselves as other layouts appear. So just be sure before the October meeting, and we'll go from there. Yeah, right now. All right, that took care of the memorial there. Okay, we will flip back to 5B, wayfinding sign update. Mr. Steinbeck.
Yes. Thank you for inviting me here tonight. Alan Steinbeck with PSG, and hadn't seen you all in a while, so I'm glad to be back and to give you all some advice tonight and to try to get to a defined strategy for how to approach the wayfinding sign project. I know it's been on the wish list for a while now, and that you all have pushed for it, talked about it, and so now some actions have already been taken internally at the staff level to start to winnow down some of the choices and ideas. So I wanted to walk you through some possibilities tonight. This is kind of a softball item, certainly easier than writing a memorial in your community. But I wanted you to see some examples of other communities and what they've done, and to get some design preferences from you, because there are really 3 critical paths to a project like this. One is deciding what the signs are going to look like. Another is deciding where they're going to go and what they're going to say. And the third is getting through the permitting and feasibility process of deciding where they want to go, can they actually go there, is the right of way there, do we need to permit this thing with NCDOT, or do we need to work with a private landowner to get an easement or something like that. So those are some very sticky issues sometimes that you need to work through. Those 3 paths of design, deciding the message, and then the permitting are things that would have to happen next, and pretty much all in conjunction with each other. But I think the first one that's critical is the design side of it, so I wanted to walk you through some of that tonight. I wanted to give you a chance to express any sort of desired outcomes or initial commentary before I get into this, so that I can respond to it if you wanted to provide any. But that's my initial overview of what I want to accomplish, and we can talk about next steps and get down to brass tacks at the end of that.
We have been trying to get this going for a while, so
yes.
Jump in.
Okay, great. So I'm going to give you some examples and just talk about some of the elements of these signs, and just to get some feedback from you all. This is a sign that was done in Brevard, North Carolina, out west, where it's a very straightforward sign. Notice there's one rectangular field and the brownish color there and the white letters, and they've done some branding of their community, and the sign seems to be sort of a medium-sized sign, if you can kind of put it into context there. And it's very easy to read and to figure out where it's telling you to go.
These are some signs from the town of Cary. You can see they've got their names at the top there, and it's a little hard to read, so it's a lesson in background colors and text and sort of the visibility of it. You really need a darker background color. Even that orange that they have is not as dark as what you would normally want to put on these kinds of signs. But it is kind of bright and certainly happy looking for the community. And when it comes right down to it, you can read where you need to go, even if some of those challenges exist. It also is a two-pole variety sign. It takes up kind of a little bit of room in terms of width, especially at the ground level. You have to have the area to do that. And sometimes out on the roadway, there's not a lot of room to do these kind of things. This is into the entrance of City Hall, so they've taken this design scheme and brand and worked it through into their signage, their directional site-based signage for their City Hall, and done this in an effective way from a design point of view. These are not super expensive, but they're nice looking. They're also not the cheapest product out there either. From the city of Fayetteville, oftentimes people will have their entrance or gateway signs also be the similar approach. I know that you already have some gateway signs in CREEDMOOR. I'm not suggesting those go away, but it's best to coordinate your entrance signs with these sort of wayfinding signs. You have a complete, pulled together brand that's out there in the community. I wouldn't want you to do something that was way off brand from what you do in your gateway signage. But they did a good job. Greenville does a good job of putting its brand out in the world. You see just the little touches like having their logo in the background on the sign and having their sign be three-dimensional and having some different fonts and things. That whether you like this or not, it's definitely a bold approach to this kind of signage. And they have their directional signage that gets you into the districts of town in addition to getting you around town. Here's one of their getting around town signs, and you can see it's a single post mounted in the center of the sign. It's very, very basic design, not too frilly, if you will, but it has a classic look with that metal post and the stamped steel. Or, well, aluminum too. In the city of Raleigh, I think the importance of this is clear that they've thought through all of the different elements of their signage program. You all have parking areas. You often talk about directing people to parking downtown, so having smaller parking signs perhaps that are coordinated with your wayfinding signs really brings the public signage together. And then, of course, matching that up with the gateway stuff that you have. Now, again, these are not the cheapest signs in the sign catalog. But they put enough money in them to, this is maybe a little bit too much for a place like here in terms of what you might want to spend, but it gets you the idea of having good parking signage and incorporating that into the scheme. And here it is out on the street. This is that one pole sign, and so I think this is the road we're almost inevitably going down, is recommending a single pole sign with a flag out at the side that is not too big or ominous, and certainly at the ground uses the right-of-way efficiently, so you don't have a big two-pole sign out there that's really wide. So these are easier to put into place. They're also less expensive than the two-pole sign, and I think they leave plenty of room to give messaging for directions about 4 or 5 locations, which is the max number you would want to have out there.
Alan, are those two-sided signs?
This one, I'm not sure about this one. A lot of people don't take advantage of the back of the sign very well because what do you say on the back of the sign?
The other sign probably says uptown.
Yeah, downtown, right.
But I'm talking about, like if we were talking about the name of a business or 2 or 3 businesses, you know, you could put a little arrow on this side and the arrow on the other side and cover coming and going without having to put 2 signs up.
Definitely they can be double-sided, and these can be printed up on either side for sure, very easily. You'll notice the text in the font is a little hard to read. If I were driving by the sign at 30 miles an hour, I would have no idea that it was the city of Oaks because I would not be able to read that as I was driving by. So the size of the text really matters a lot, and a lot of signs you see are a little small, too small to read. And it's really hard to navigate your way. Right, well, I mean,
I don't drive this much.
we don't all see like we used to. Yeah. Reading those kind of signs, having them big enough, having them too small is really an error because even around here you've got people entering town going like 50 miles an hour and you just have, well, I mean, down at the bottom of the hill you do. All right, I mean, as you come into town, those kind of gateway experiences, you're gonna need a substantial text size and sign size. This is too small. That's my point, in this from a design consideration. And then again, even though these are pedestrian level, urban kind of downtownish signs, they have pretty big text and are obviously meant for vehicle drivers to read as they come by. And the little parking inserts kind of be here. Scholar City, so these are more like roadway directional signs, which are not in love with this necessarily as it looks, but it's possible to really be economical in producing these kind of signs out there for really roadway directional signage coming into town. What have you. And then Statesville, which says everything kind of extra. I think I mentioned Statesville in this room before as a good example community to see what they've done, but they really went all out with their downtown and it's sort of a fancy model to look at, including incorporating it into their lighting scheme, and they have these signs on their lights, and they have lots of great landscaping, et cetera, to get with them. And see how they've done a little extra branding print in the back, which gives you another layer of interest, visual interest for these signs, instead of just having plain text on them, for example. And this is out in the field for real world, and you see the cut through at the top with lets the light through, and it just says a little bit, has an interest design elements to it. And then we're getting towards the end here, but wait for us, this is like your standard roadway sign printed up in the paint shop that does the roadway signs, and this is really economical, but it looks like a roadway sign. So we're not recommending going in this direction, but you may choose to do this at some point if you're really just trying to take care of business in a very...
We only have 3 roads now.
What's that?
We only have 3 roads.
Well, I know, but you have 3 roads in several different destinations that you're trying to serve, and people, and you want them to, this sort of signage really needs to be starting at the edge of your community where people come in, and it's sort of, so out on the road, right, you're coming to the community. And as you get closer and nearer to downtown and the walkable area of CREEDMOOR, they start to get more about the scale of the place. So that's, remember the Raleigh, the palette of design options with the different kinds of signs. You really do need to think through that design strategy if you're going to have a high-quality wayfinding system in your community that's well coordinated from how it looks and how it operates. And last here at Wilson, which also is a great community that does things very well, I think, on very good resources, has their signage that they planned out, designed, and also their gateway signs that very well incorporate their brand. You see that. And then there are small parking signs I thought was a good example of that, and they also utilize the back of their signs to reinforce them as something kind of creative and fun. So even when they didn't have a message on their signs, adding some kind of visual interest to the street and reinforcing the Wilson Worldly Gate brand. So I think that's it. Yep. So as a reminder, I'm telling you these things because what needs to happen next is to give a sign company, their designer, some direction on here is the type and quality of sign that we would like to have. A single pole sign, a medium-sized wayfinding sign that's designed for vehicles but isn't too obtrusive in the roadway. There's a flag-style sign with up to 5 messages across it, and of a certain quality and visual appeal. And because I've tried to show you that the quality can really vary quite a bit, a sign company and what it's thinking that is going to be, just like working with any contractor who's going to deliver some item from you, you have to tell them, well, I want these kinds of specifications and this kind of certainty about the quality of it. So, to workshop with this with you, I'm giving you a proposal of this concept, and I'd like to walk out of here tonight thinking that we can give a sign company some pretty clear direction on style and quality.
You gotta go back to the picture.
Yes, we can go back through it. Now, we'll have to listen. But Mike, you got 2 proposals from people. One was how much?
43,000.
And one was
15,000.
15,000. So the 2 initial bids that Mike got, Mike has
Yeah, there are 2 different ends of the spectrum.
They are. So
Yeah.
it's somewhere in between there, right? This is probably the number, depending on quality and what you would specify. So not a crazy amount of money for installing the number of signs that were on the map, that Mike prepared. And we've talked about some of the details of that. I don't want to get into discussion about where the signs were going to go tonight, or that's another item that we can talk through.
But what is the place for if we haven't decided where the signs are going and what we're gonna say?
Yeah, where are we pointing people to?
There was a concept plan done.
Right.
Okay, so staff has prepared a drawing with the assistance of engineers, to determine where the signs should be and where they should point to, and I think there's about 8, yeah. So this was what was provided to the sign companies to give them a sense of the number and location of signs. So there is a plan, and there's a concept for where they would go. But the messaging we've talked about at the staff level, but we don't have a proposal for the messaging tonight. We need to work on that. And that's one of those 3 critical path items, is the location and messaging.
Do we, sorry to interrupt you, but do we have, like the signs at the beginning on 50 down here that says welcome to Creedmoor, and then we've got the little, lines above the little things. Was there a standard sign group that we used for them that we could piggyback on these things, or was that a long time ago? And
it was before my time,
yeah,
and certainly not with me involved. So we'd have to dig that information up. Yeah, before Mike's time. How about that?
okay.
It wasn't before my time, because I used to mow the grass around that thing. It was just what you see, and then the various organizations just said, we'd like to put one of our signs up there, and that's pretty much how that was developed.
We recognize the emphasis of this was on getting around downtown and moving people to and from shops and civic locations and that sort of thing. So while tonight I've talked about sort of the whole sandwich, we are going to focus in, and that's what this plan really does focus in on, and it would be the first step. So that medium-sized sign, that whole sign, is the ideal solution for this kind of space, to do what that needs to do. Getting you to and from City Hall or police, Lake Riders Park, and downtown in general, and downtown shops.
Shops at Creedmoor. If you
Right.
ever say shops at Creedmoor somewhere, I'm
Yeah,
gonna
it'll be generic, it'll say something like downtown shopping, but you can't benefit an individual
Right.
private owner on the sign. You can only say more shopping or restaurant.
We talked about this before in other contexts, and exclude some elements, and do things to benefit an individual property owner or business owner that we're not prepared to do for
So
everyone.
it would just say shopping and an arrow, that's it?
I think you probably could massage that a little bit, add a little bit more detail with flair to it, but you couldn't say.
The shops.
Creedmoor Drugstore, could say Creedmoor
The property
Drugstore.
is called the Shops of Creedmoor, that I'm talking about.
I still think that you can't specifically.
Okay, so that we can't do, okay.
But you could put mortgage, insurance, whatever, what they
But I
do.
mean, we've got
Can you?
food, we've got, dentists, we've got a,
Food generally in this direction.
employment agency down there. That's like, if you say shopping, that won't cover it. Because the
true.
dentist that's down there would like some people to know that he's there.
Well, you could put shopping, professional services.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's ways around it.
Okay, we think shops of Creedmoor would be just a general thing, because you are in Creedmoor. So I mean, like shops of Creedmoor.
Everything's
I mean,
shop.
that's in that
You say.
parking area.
As long as the name of the shopping center is in the shops of the
Oh, it is.
That's the point, that, I don't think
I was
that,
excited, I thought we had solved that.
using this, we're treating it as a generic shops at Creedmoor in a general sense, when in fact there is a particular shopping area called Shops at Creedmoor. I don't think that that's going to stand up to legal scrutiny. I think that is,
Stupid fool.
you know, the law is often stupid, but it is what it is.
Yep, and that generic more shops and businesses or something like that, it needs to be pithy, because it's got to fit on the sign, and I've got to have a chance of reading it when I drive by.
So at the corner of Church and Main, we would put an arrow for the gauntlet, the shopping. What else we got? said, shopping or dentist or professional services, call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
To the right would be the gauntlet, to the left would be the shopping. And then we come down to what, Masonic, is that where the next blue dot is? Y'all are killing my eyes.
I'm trying,
Just
but
south of
I,
Masonic.
Yeah.
So that would say City Hall is the police department.
Correct.
And then the last one would say Lake Rogers to the left, Community Center to the right,
Senior services.
Senior Services. And that right now is all we need, I think. Or all we have.
May I ask what the one is to the left here, the purpose? No, like to the left, I think it's on 15, yeah, right there.
Scroll over.
Yeah.
Well, that's the welcome to Creedmoor.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's never been one on the other end.
There's also a welcome to Creedmoor sign up by Key Store.
Yes.
Yeah, it's all on the map.
C2, I don't see this.
Well, she zoomed in.
Because
She zooms out there.
Okay.
There's one at Lake Rogers.
Yes.
There's one at the other end of 56.
So how do we coordinate the ones we have with the ones that we want?
Well, the ones that you want need to be the ones that you want for good.
So we have to replace those three to match them? It would be suggested.
Yeah, she suggested that you do that after you've got the signs put in place and you're very, very happy with them, then you go at some replacement and other things. But make sure that you respond to a real sign in your community rather than, I think, small ones. Or harder than that.
Okay, I believe you.
And you get the budget for it.
That's why we pay the big bucks. We believe you.
Yes.
Any other questions?
Yeah, how come we don't have one on the other end?
That has always been a good question.
We don't have
There's never
one.
been one
On the other
point
end of
that gets
We
asked
can
for.
change that.
I guess coming out of Wake, I guess.
There is a,
Well,
Yeah.
down a little further.
On the other end, when you come down from Main Street to 15 itself,
it's on the plans.
it's on the flank.
It's on your new wayfinding master plan that is before you tonight, and I say that because it's been well thought through with Mike and engineers. And we were gonna bring this back to you, so.
So we're talking about putting one at 15, Mike?
There's a stop there.
Is that what I'm all for?
There you
The
go.
possible wayfinding sign there, is that?
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah, I do have one more.
Be something else for me to mow around. Go ahead.
Do you have he forgot my name. Go ahead. I know. Do we have a roundabout ballpark figure of the amount of money that this may cost us with the ones, like the entrance signs and then all the small
Mr.
flags?
Rodriguez will have to speak to you about what was included in his submittal to these sign companies that he asked them to bid.
3 single post sign locations. That's all was included.
Oh, so that is like the actual amount, the $43,000.
Yes. I mean, my guess was gonna be over $6,000 a sign.
Well, we also don't know what signs these are. What are they, which signs?
So there weren't
There you go.
specifics
Thank you.
included regarding the signage. What these estimates include also are the services. They are including consulting, they are including design, where they would come in and talk to you about what you wanted. But what I had simply said was 3 signs, single post, 3 different locations, double-sided. And the idea that we could use the back and the front of the box that we were going.
But we got a designer, right?
We have a designer?
We've got Alan.
You would design it?
I don't design wayfinding.
Come on, Alan, you told me you could do everything.
Never said that ever, under any circumstances. So, the sign company has qualified designers to take a product and bring together, just like when you go over a cabinet. Somebody's out there at the shop, doing shop drawing through every cabinet. They have someone who knows how to design signs, and if you give them the correct guidance, and you show them a picture, and you say, this level of quality, these materials, you can get what you want from their shop designer. And they will definitely be able to bid that out and have an effective bid, because they'll be designing it with its efficiency in mind. Just like a shop designer does out at the cabinet shop. So that is how this typically goes down. They have a full service turnkey operation that does the permitting for you. And honestly, better to have their permitter go down there to NCDOT, because the sign permitter knows the guy's permanent sign type.
Yeah.
And they know how to get things done. So, there are some benefits to having more.
Can we give them a timeline?
So a timeline?
Can we give them a timeline? Not 5 years from now?
Well, the challenges involved in this, though, you notice the MCDOT
I see it.
collaboration is a part of this, of course.
I just know that that one time, it's $43,000.
No, that's the package.
Yeah.
That relates to the professional services.
But it doesn't include the signs.
I think if you go to 4, Barbara, is there another thing? It was supposed to include the signs. It was supposed to include the manufacturing and fabrication. That was one of the clicks for the first one on ASI. So ASI was one of the firms right here. Nick Mayo was the person that I spoke with from this particular company. And yeah, they did come in at the high side. The second was from American Sign Plaza, and these guys did come in at the low side, but you see planning and design, fabrication.
That's where you want to be?
You lost me a little bit.
Further down?
No, they include permitting too. A little bit further up when it was right there.
Yep, down a little bit.
Fine design, fabrication, installation, maintenance.
Basically turnkey.
Yes, that's what I was going for. This one corresponds to the funding that we have available from the TDA,
Okay.
which I think is $6,000.
Yeah.
Where we owe them a 50% match of that, which put us in the neighborhood of $12,000. And that's where I got the prices for 3 sides. If you scroll down just like one half page, a little bit more.
Right there.
Right. So one full system, double-sided, 4,000, 3 signs, 12,000. Magic. Yes, ma'am.
But then that's still, you have to get DOT and all the other things that this other place included as well, right?
No, these guys want to include that too, but I feel, to Alan's point, they maybe would be more inexpensive on the actual sign product. It might be something maybe
Not
less
good quality.
than what you're hoping for. Right, and then the $43,000 might include more
Cadillac.
signage.
Can we get another one?
That would stand up to a longer sun, weatherization, and all those factors too.
You know I like the number 3.
Do?
The number 3. Three comparisons, and then I can choose one of the 3.
Well, and
Right now, we've got
unfortunately-
this one and that one.
That unfortunately, I'm still in conversation. I wrote in my staff report that I reached out to about 5 or 6 different companies, only got these 2 back. There is one that I'm still in conversations with. We play phone tag, and what they want from me is more detail. Well, I don't want to give them unfair advantage. I've been giving everyone the same map with the same instructions, 3 sign locations, 2-sided, 1 pole. And, they haven't been so far willing to give me a price back.
I've tried twice to find out where Oxford got theirs, and Jackie still hasn't come
I
back.
talked to Cheryl Hart, and she told me the sign company was called Broach out of Glendale,
Uh-huh.
and they're bankrupt. They've since gone bankrupt and under.
I like those signs.
Unfortunately, that's what Cheryl told me.
Commissioner Way, any other questions? Mr. Gleason?
No, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem. Commissioner Kuczynski?
So we have to tell you tonight which ones we want.
No, but if there was the old cart and horse analogy, the design clarity.
We waited 5 years, let's make up our mind.
The design clarity is the horse. You can't get what you want from a sign company until you tell them, here is what I want. You're gonna charge me X.
That's what I'm
Here's
saying.
what I want, that costs X, right?
Yeah.
And then you there's some negotiation that I think has to go on. But without the design clarity, we can't go to them and say, here's what we really, really want, because we want to get what we want. And I'm showing you these images tonight to try to get you honed in on an expectation around.
All right, so we have to kind of decide on what we want, y'all.
Yeah, so,
I like the blue ones, whichever,
Yeah, right there.
that one.
Yep.
Light blue ones.
No, we're not getting light blue.
That looks like a royal blue to me.
It looks like Pennsylvania blue, Penn State blue.
I mean, because your CREEDMOOR color, your main CREEDMOOR brand color is one of the standard colors that you see in these things,
The
you might as
burgundy.
well have the field be CREEDMOOR burgundy.
Yeah.
Right. Now, those are beautiful, but I
But
know
that's the
it's gonna
Cadillac.
cost a fortune.
Well, Well, and maybe the metal in the frame is definitely the Cadillac, and the top of it's definitely a Cadillac item, but printing the Creedmoor, something that's like the Creedmoor 8-quarter, what have you, Acorn,
Leaf.
Leaf?
That's the leaf.
That's a tricky question.
Acorn is Raleigh.
But something, you could do that printing that was my point, for not a ton of money, and achieve a similar effect to this. Just
Okay.
that little bit of touch to it, or, like Oxford, where they have a very simple charcoal gray ground top to theirs, and then there's.
We could put a mule on the top of it.
Yeah,
Put a mule in the background.
Real time.
Yeah.
yeah.
So you're looking for consensus tonight, Mr. Francos? You looking for consensus?
We're looking for some more direction on how the board wants to proceed. We'd like to advance the project. We've come to a point now where we need a little bit more direction in order to get a little bit more definitive with the pricing.
I think we
For
would,
us to select the turnkey company.
I like the burgundy one without the Cadillac pole.
I think we've got a whole bunch of different ways to do this, different colors, different signs. As you said, we've waited 5 years, another couple of weeks isn't gonna make that much difference. Gives you plenty of time to decide what color, what signs, and what fonts you want. So, we appreciate it. We will hopefully have a more definitive answer at our next.
No, why can't we?
Well, because I would usually like, once I've gotten things, and would assume other people would, you would like to take some time to consider.
Yeah, but he said they can't go forward until we
Yeah.
do it. We're gonna wait 2 more weeks.
Yeah, let's
We've
go.
waited 5 years. What is the relief?
You haven't seen Alan's PowerPoint before tonight, and that's the one that's the best example.
Okay.
Modern day examples that are out there right now that, they compare Creedmoor to.
I like the one with the flu in the background.
me too.
And put the,
Cheaper pole.
that's it.
That's it. No, go back, that one.
Right, I think the rectangular field with some sort of architectural element above, even if it's basic, that's framed up correctly with a printed background of some kind like that, graphical in nature, would be beautiful.
Yeah, I like that.
And you get what you need, so that would be sort of, and that embodies the thing that I'm recommending to you that you do, and it's the flag design. Which I think
Well,
looks
you got
better than the
that
one
thing
that's
right
centered on the
there
pole.
that shows you exactly what you can do.
Oh, there we go.
Good presentation, gentlemen.
You wanna take this with you? Let me get it.
You can take a picture of it.
We just moved into a new office this week, I don't want to take anything with me.
Okay. Yeah.
Commissioner Wilkins, any additional questions?
Good presentation, thank you.
Alan, thank you.
We'll keep moving forward and look forward to hearing from you.
Okay. Hopefully, we'll have something definitive for you at the next meeting. Okay, let's see, 5D, Resolution 2023-R-06. Kevin, I believe that's you.
Yep, I won't belabor this. There are 2 resolutions in front of you. These both deal with the disposal of surplus vehicles that we discussed earlier this month. We just need a resolution authorizing staff to move forward as we discussed. And so just to be clear, what we're looking for is a motion. You can do these separately. Motion to approve each resolution separately. You can do a single motion to approve both resolutions.
We're gonna do this is, basically, it's a requested motion, is that, which includes both of them. All right, is there any discussion? Everybody understand what we're looking at here? Is there any discussion prior to the resolution? Not seeing any, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve Resolution 2023-R-06 and 2023-R-07.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Wilkins, as stated. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Thanks, sir. Motion carries 5-0. All right, let's see. 5E, Mr. Corrigan, National Recreation and Park Conference in Dallas.
Good evening, Christopher Horgan, Recreation Director, City of Creedmoor. I just wanted to come before you and let you know that a couple of months ago, Cheyenne Nickens, our Recreation Supervisor, applied for several scholarships to attend several recreation conferences, the North Carolina Recreation Parks Conference, which is held this December. She applied for a scholarship to go there. She was awarded a scholarship. It was brought before the board. She's really excited to attend that one. 2 weeks ago, we just found out she was also awarded a scholarship to attend the National Recreation and Parks Conference this year. It's on October 10th, 11th, and 12th in Dallas, Texas. It is a completely covered, so it covers registration, which is approximately $650, and gives her a $1,000 stipend to cover the rest, which is hotel, flights, meals, and Uber transportation to and from the conference and from the hotel. This one is a little bit different. This check is cut directly to Cheyenne. They do not cut the check to us after consulting with our finance director back in the back corner. That is okay. There's no issue with that. So she can keep that money. Anything that she doesn't spend, she can pocket as well. But it's probably going to cost her most of that funds in transportation and lodging and all that. We've already secured her lodging consideration for that. But other than that, just wanted to make you aware that we'll have an attendee at that particular conference. Having attended it, it is an amazing conference. Thousands and thousands of recreation professionals from across the United States in the exhibit hall where they set up everything from splash pads to full playgrounds to play on and explore. So it is really a remarkable opportunity for her to go as well and completely funded. So I don't know if it has to be a motion. It is a scholarship grant, but it's not coming to the city. We will be, our match is just her salary, her weekly salary for that week to pay her while she's attending that conference. But other than that, if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer for you.
Any questions for Chris? Mr. Kaczynski.
So it says that the hotel has already been booked.
Yes.
So what are you asking us for?
Mostly this is information. So at one point, we were not sure if we were going to have to do a budget amendment. So we wanted to get that on there because we wouldn't have a lot of time if she needed a budget amendment to wait until the last minute in October to come before you after that and book everything. As it turns out, we don't need a budget amendment for this, and whether or not this falls under the realm of a grant that the board has to approve, I'm not sure of that. That might be the other thing that we're secondarily considering. And then third is just informational. You heard one of our employees was at a conference in Dallas. I think you probably have a question about that, so making you aware.
So if it is a grant, then we need a budget amendment, right, Lee?
So with this grant, the grant was awarded directly to Cheyenne. Even though she's going on, doing duties on behalf of the city, I gave Chris direction to, upon her arrival, to provide all documentation of receipts that supported those
Yeah.
But either way,
there's nothing we need to do.
Could have went to the city, but there's a check was being issued directly right back to Cheyenne.
Okay.
So it was fine either way.
Okay, thanks. Good. Who's gonna cover for her?
We already got it on the schedule process, but we got a good team.
Okay.
Thanks, Chris. We appreciate it. Tell her we're so very proud of her.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, we move to item 5F. County and State Board of Election requirements for extending the mayor's term limits. City Attorney.
So I think the advice that I gave you all at our meeting earlier this month stands. There have been a few developments. I've spoken with the county attorney who has relayed to me his conversation with the State Board of Elections attorney. The bottom line is that, like I said, there are certainly some questions about whether we can practically get this done in time for the 2023 election. The county attorney also has some questions about whether we can legally do it. I disagree, but I prefer not to get into that in open session. If you all would like to have a more detailed discussion, we can call a closed session before the meeting. I don't think it's necessary. Bottom line is that, like I said, I think from the beginning, my recommendation is that this probably is something that we can't, we should not, we can do the charter amendment process beginning whenever the board directs me to do that, but I don't believe we should make it effective until after this upcoming election.
Mr. Mayor?
Hold on, I got two going. So, Mr. Wilkins.
The 90-day rule would be an impediment also, wouldn't it?
So that's what we take, we have different opinions about. I don't believe that the 90-day rule, is an impediment here. The county does, and this is an issue that there's really not any, we don't have any Court of Appeals opinions on to help kind of interpret or determine whose opinion is correct here. I don't want to get too much more into it, in open session and that, because it's entirely possible that if we move forward, we choose to make it effective for the 2023 election, there may be legal challenges to it.
Yeah, not to mention public opinion, which is what I said, let's go with 2025 in my email.
Commissioner Gleason.
If it's in order, I'd like to make a motion that we table this until after the 2023 election day.
All right. Hang on just a second, because I have no objection to that. What is the first meeting after the election?
You know, the first meeting is election day, I believe. It'll be the work session after election day, which is the 8th. It would be the 22nd.
The first work session.
I have it somewhere.
20th would be our work session. December 5th would be the regular board meeting.
But November 20th?
Maybe we can have something drawn up by the 20th meeting, look over it and approve it.
The notices that we have to adopt, have those ready to go at that 20th session, November 20th.
Yes,
so we can get the ball rolling as soon after that election as possible.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to table this until November 20th work session. Is that basically what you're looking for? By Commissioner Gleason, any further discussion?
Yes.
Commissioner Kuczynski.
I spoke to SOG after we spoke. And I know you're all gonna kill me, but I would really like to discuss this in closed session.
All right, we have so are you amending the motion?
I would like to, discuss this in closed session because I have more information to share.
Would you like to amend Commissioner Gleason's motion, or Commissioner Gleason, would you like to withdraw your motion?
I don't care if we want to have closed session, but I want my motion to table to be in order.
Okay. All right, we can do both, I would assume.
Certainly, I suppose that the board, if whatever the result of the closed session discussion is, the board could certainly reconsider whatever motion was taken with respect to that.
All right, so let's deal with Commissioner Gleason's motion to table. Any further discussion? Not hearing any. Does everybody understand the motion?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
Okay, motion passes 3-2. Commissioner Way, you did vote aye, did you not? Okay, I just couldn't hear you. Approved. All right, while we're on this then, Commissioner Kuczynski, would you like to make a motion to go into closed session at the end of?
Yes, sir, I would like to make a motion to go into closed session to discuss the, voting issue, election, term of office for the mayor issue.
Okay, Kuczynski, any discussion? Everybody understand the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no?
No.
Motion carries. Again, Commissioner Way, aye.
Yes, sir, I said aye.
Okay. Motion is approved 4-1. We will have a closed session at the end of this meeting. Okay. Let's see. All right, we're on a roll here, City Attorney, so we will do 5G, which is the ETJ Regional Boundaries Concept.
So there's not a whole lot to update y'all on right now. We are trying to schedule some time to speak with, amongst I guess the really only 3 attorneys who are relevant here, trying to get some time together, where we can all kind of iron out, like we talked about earlier this month, trying to figure out what we need to figure out, so that we can get, managers and other representatives from each of the affected local governments into a room to discuss this further. So that's the update for right now. I'll report on the ones we have in the report.
Mayor Pro Tem.
So that would be you and Attorney Wren and your father.
Yeah, my father, that's right.
So it can't be too hard to get you and your father together.
I
Who's
will,
the problem?
Geez, I wonder.
no comment.
Okay, any questions of city attorney? Not hearing any. Well, that was probably the easiest one we'll have tonight. All right. 5I, Resolution 2023-R-05.
This one,
Did I miss one?
5H.
Okay, interlocal, I apologize. Sometimes I mark them wrong and I skip over them. 5H, interlocal agreement for shared grant writing services, city manager.
Mayor Whittle, members of the board, in the fiscal year '24 budget, the board approved a shared grant writing position between Creedmoor and Granville County. The manager and his staff and I have met several times. The matter was turned over to the attorneys, who both worked through their documents, the contract or memorandum of understanding for interlocal. At the last Board of County Commissioners meeting on September the 5th, their board has approved this document, so it comes to you for review and approval as well.
All right. So according here, the requested motion just for review and discussion. So is there a motion required to?
There will be when I'll put it on the consent agenda. I mean, you can vote on this thing tonight if you'd like, or I can put it on consent.
Let's just do consent. Any discussion, Commissioner Wilkins?
No, sir, I've read through it, I'm good.
Commissioner Kuczynski?
The, paragraph, Kevin, that talks about priority use. Yeah, number 3. That is my concern with this whole thing, is if they've got their grant writer writing a grant for them and we need a grant written, do we have to wait? Do we not get it? It's a 50-50 thing.
It's a county employee though. We're not employing them, we're contributing funds towards their salary. If the city wants priority, then we should switch this agreement around and make it a city employee, but then the city's gonna have to be responsible for, all the employment benefits and everything else that comes along with it.
And that's not included in this amount here.
And that's just not, and frankly, I think that would require, some other discussions amongst city staff about whether that's even feasible or practical. I think that the consensus so far has been, I believe we even discussed this back when we were talking about the budget, is that doing something like that is just not practical for the city right now. This is probably the best arrangement that we can come to, and unfortunately, because this is an employee that the county plans on hiring, that they have a heck of a lot of leverage when it comes to decisions like priority work, that sort of thing.
So are the charges for who's gonna administer the grant, where is we talked about this, that they would charge us a minimum of $60,000 for up to $1 million grant. There's an email that says that. But who's gonna administer a grant, and the costs are not in here? I don't see them. Are they in here?
I don't know what we're talking about. This agreement deals solely with the employment and the city's contribution towards the employment of the exchange agreement.
Right, but they want money. If we get a grant, they want a percentage of the grant. That's not in here. To administer the grant, because the grant writer has to administer the grant. We can't administer it.
I don't think it would be legal for the city to receive a grant and then be obligated to pay a percentage of the grant to somebody else. I've not seen any email, and that's certainly not discussed in the agreement. This agreement certainly would not obligate the city to apportion any amount of grant funds received from anybody else. This is the first I'm hearing of that, but it's certainly not anything that's been covered.
Mike, isn't that what that email said?
I don't recall being.
I sent an email to you asking who would administer the grant, and Drew wrote back to you and said, remember, Ed, because you interpreted it for me, that it would be no more than $60,000 for a grant up to $1 million for administering the grant. You remember that email?
No,
Because you said this is the way I understand it.
that's what if you hire a grant writer to write a grant for a specific project, that would be part of it. This, I would imagine, is a county grant writer.
So who's gonna,
An employee of the county who can't charge us.
but who's gonna administer the grant if we get one?
Grant writer.
Grant writer, which is the county grant writer.
I think what you're talking about is typically when you've got an independent contractor, grant writer.
Right.
They don't make any money. Their money, that they would be entitled to a portion of whatever grant funds you receive for hiring them and having them
Administer the grant.
This is not applicable here because this would be a county employee who's paid a salary and who is their job responsibility. In the same way that Mike is employed by the city and his job is to administer the function of the city, the grant writer would be an employee of the county whose job is to apply for and administer grants, on behalf of the county and then under this agreement also the city.
So if I find the email where it says that, since it's not in this agreement, it doesn't apply.
Correct. There's the agreement.
That's what I'm saying, the agreement has no mention of it.
Look at paragraph 12, entire agreement, this, agreement, the entire agreement, supersedes the prior written or oral agreements pertaining to the subject matter here. It's a standard contract clause. I would not have, left something as significant as that out if there's any question about it.
Well, and I know that you didn't know about it, that's why I'm asking, because Drew did have a conversation and sent an email to that conversation.
About those sorts of things, let me know before we get to the public, the open forum, so we're happy to have this conversation with you all, privately offline.
Okay.
City manager.
Commissioner Kozinski, you are right. When they were first looking at hiring a contracted service to do that, I remember what you're talking about now. There was a percentage mentioned in there.
Yeah.
But doing it this way, it's a shared split. Terry Hobgood is gonna be overseeing these grants for the county. Terry will be overseeing this grant writer. So he's the guy that's gonna be looking after managing, administering these grants.
So what other municipalities have joined in this grant writing thing? Is it just us in the county?
The county invited Stem, Butler, CREEDMOOR, and Oxford, and nobody responded but CREEDMOOR because we were looking at a grant writer to help us out, but didn't want to fund a full-time grant writer.
Okay.
If it works out, this works well, and we've got enough things to do, we could do our own grant writer, but, starting off, I'd like to see how this works.
Yeah. No, I just was concerned about that other part.
Yeah, that is not something that's standard, and you read the agreement, and it's certainly not in there.
Not in there.
Nobody would be bound to pay anybody any percentage of anything.
Okay.
I do, go ahead.
Real quick, under invoices, you had mentioned that if we took basically possession of the grant writer, we'd have to be responsible for overtime, insurance, all that other stuff. None of that's gonna be included in any of these invoices they're gonna send us to.
It might be, but again, the city's not responsible for administering, for instance, like the state,
So we may still have to pay them, but we,
responsible for.
okay, I needed that cleared up, okay.
Like the retirement system stuff, those sorts of things, the city won't be obligated to handle.
To handle it, but we would be obligated to pay it.
Pay our share.
Okay. Mayor Pro Tem.
I just had a question about, I guess it was, paragraph or number 2, the shared cost of an employee grant writer. So it has a $40,000, amount that we'll share. That's our chunk, right? But then it also says, the grant writer shall keep a log of all mileage incurred by travel to and from the city. And so is that extra we'll have to pay them?
Potentially.
Mileage?
Certainly, just like any employee is entitled to reimbursement at certain standard rate, at the IRS standard rate.
What if he's using a county vehicle?
All right, then they wouldn't get it. It's our job to coordinate with the county on that.
And they're required to submit monthlies to each manager each month.
We'll be checking, this is not, I'll tell you, this has been pretty well vetted. We spent, I don't know, a month or two going back and forth with the draft. That's one of the things that I've made sure that we get in there, is the county can be asking us for money, for additional reimbursement beyond kind of our portion of the salary. But if the county's gonna have to make sure that they keep a log of whatever these other additional expenses that they're gonna ask the city to reimburse for them.
So is this a lump sum payment, or do we know, how do we make these
They're
payments?
gonna bill us quarterly,
Okay,
and it's a price not to exceed $40,000.
okay.
Any questions down this way? All right. We will do this as, I guess, consent agenda, is that what you're looking for? All right, let's see, grant writing, make sure I'm on the right one. 5I, Resolution 2023-R-05, amending the water and wastewater allocation policy. Mr. Brangos.
Good evening. Resolution before you, 23-R-05, was written to supersede Resolution 2022-R-14, which was the previous water and wastewater allocation policy. The change here relates specifically to Section 4, where the 510 gallons per day that had been previously reserved for the City Hall expansion was now added to the residential total, making it now 2510, and allows us to once again issue probably 2 zoning compliance permits for 2 new structures going forward. You saw also in your report, and I'm sorry that it transferred in portrait view rather than landscape view, but there's the allocations that we've already given out from the initial 2,000 gallons per day shown there. Any questions I can answer? Otherwise, the recommendation is to adopt the new resolution 23-R-05.
Mr. Way, any questions?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gleason?
No, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No, sir.
Commissioner Kuczynski?
No, sir.
Commissioner Wilkins?
No, sir.
All right, at this time, I will request a motion to approve Resolution 2023-R-05.
So moved.
Mr. Gleason, did you make a motion?
So move we approve Resolution 2023-R-05.
I had you and Commissioner Kuczynski at the same time, so I wanted to make sure I got the one of you right. Okay, motion is made. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, let's see, I remember where the water, got that. 5J, DEI discussion. Commissioner Gleason.
Very simple, not a lot of discussion. When the original resolution 2021-R11 was establishing the CREEDMOOR Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Commission, probably about a year or so after that, there was a change. There was at one time an amendment amending this resolution, was drafted but never passed. I would like before our next board meeting to have that amendment to changing the name to the CREEDMOOR Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Board. I see no reason why the rest of the resolution should stay the same, along with the attachment A. Once that is passed, I plan to meet with the DEI committee in their October meeting and make sure that we start moving forward so that they can create, have some ideas that they're gonna move forward for the next, year.
Okay, is this to change the name
Yes.
to the CREEDMOOR?
Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Advisory Board.
Okay. So what about this one that was done under the copy that I have from January 4th?
It was never passed. It was,
Motion was, it says here, Mayor Pro Tem Bruce Meyer Brown moved to amend resolution, change the name of the DEI Commission to DEI Advisory Board. Motion was approved on a 4-to-1 roll call vote.
but then the resolution was never written and adopted.
It was never brought into a meeting.
Joe never did it.
It has to be just
That's what I'm trying to
Yeah.
get clear.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's all.
All right. So the resolution was approved.
But never
The,
written.
I think
the agreement to make the resolution.
Concept of changing the name. was
But the
approved,
actual
but the actual
resolution. Okay, I got
was
you.
drafted.
That's what's throwing me a little bit. Okay. All right, we'll get that straight and should be able to do that at our next meeting. Thank you, sir. All right, that was I'm sorry,
I have a question.
about the DEI?
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Kaczynski?
In the original resolution, the number of members says 8, and in the revised document, it shows 9. As a board, we need to decide what is the number, 8 or 9. We've got a resolution that says 8, and the amendment is to change the name, not the number, but it has changed the number. And I know we have an ETJ member, and I know we have an ad hoc high school member, but the original resolution is 4 ad hoc members, and it says number of members 8, and the new document says 9. So I'd like clarification on which one it is. And then once we do that, I'd like to know when the 1, 2, 3 members that are beyond their term are going to reapply, or have they left, or are they on, or what's the status? Rachel's term ended in May of '23, Dennis's ended in 7 of '23, and Pamela's in 8 of '23. Now, I think one of them we renewed.
One's coming up on.
And Manuel is coming up in October, in a couple of weeks. So, if these,
Once this agreement is, I think 8 is fine, 8 should be the number.
okay,
And once this is passed, and we have our meeting in October, I will make sure that we discuss with the DEI committee about reappointments, appointments, and new appointments, and have that for our meeting in October.
Would it be useful to include a minimum number and maximum number rather than the mandated 8 members? That way, because we know that we
I think the maximum would be 8, right? The minimum is,
we could say, a minimum of
6.
5 members
Yeah.
and a maximum of 8, or something like that. That way, as community interest fluctuates, we can make sure we keep a board handled, but we got room to grow.
I have no problem with that, 5 and 8.
This one mentions that 9, but there's 8 at-large positions and 1 ad hoc, which makes 9.
We have a high school student in South Bramwell who just graduated, so that member will need to be replaced too.
Which was gonna be my next question.
Mr. Mayor, if I could ask the DEI chair, are all these members still current?
So there was an email sent out at Pamela and designed from the DEI month ago. About last meeting, until last week. So the only current members are myself, Thomas Mongo, Manny, and then
Regular.
a high school student has been gone, so the 3 of us. I am currently recruiting, and I think I have 2 more people that are actually 3 people who are interested in joining.
So, Rachel's not on there?
Oh, excuse me, Rachel, I do apologize. Rachel's
She is still?
She is.
Yeah. Okay, so you got 4.
Yeah, it's 4, but I apologize, I guess it's Rachel.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so we need to be a little tighter on these term expirations, because some of these are months gone, and, so I just want, and Mr. City Manager, have we distributed the code of conduct to all our boards and committees?
Yes, ma'am, we have.
Do we have signed copies
It has
back?
gone out, we've asked for signatures, they're coming back.
Okay. Have we set a time limit on that?
I will by next week, the end of next week.
Okay. That's all I got.
Mr. Gleason, anything else on this matter?
No, sir.
All right, I guess we're ready to move on then. 5K, cost estimates to upgrade commissioners' iPads, city manager.
Mayor, members of the board, what you've got in your package here, reflects a price for either 1 or more, upgrade 12.9-inch iPads. It's a 2.25-inch increase in screen size. One unit cost, with the tax, with Wi-Fi only is $1,066. With the cellular capacity, it's $1,735 per unit. If you consider one or more of these options, you'll need to designate funding to be able to cover those, and we can do that at the next meeting.
All right, items for discussion, Mr. Wilkins.
Do we know the age of the current iPads?
300 years old.
Do we know the age? She said 300, please.
Mine's at least 4. Yeah, I can tell you that much.
And I think we all got new ones about the same time.
I didn't get a new one, I got a used one. Marina reissued an old one to me. So this is whatever.
I know I got a new one, but I had the oldest one on the board.
5 or 6 years would be my guess.
And with technology, it might be worth it to do this. Okay.
Can anybody look on their current iPad and see what, version we're using?
They said they were here when she came.
To my knowledge, there have not been any purchases since I've been here, and I've been here since
7th generation.
Yeah, mine's ours, so.
That's probably what mine is.
Oh, yours is newer. Because you're the mayor, you're special.
Yes, I'm told.
I think you are. You'll always be my mayor.
Hey.
What you call settings?
All right, discussion. Anybody have yays or nays or whatever they want to do, or somebody want to make a?
Since I'm the one that brought it up.
Yeah, that's kind of where we were. You were about to be called on.
I think one of the biggest things was that we all agreed upon. Well, I'm going that way. Yes, ma'am. As we've all agreed upon, the city has fell behind in technology at a time. And one of the biggest things is we need to make sure that we stay up to date in the technology field, especially for our staff foremost, and then for ourselves as well. I try to separate my personal business from my city business, and I want city business to be handled on one device. And I believe if we move to the larger iPads, that you can get the accessory with the keyboard for this iPad to make it into kind of like a laptop computer situation. You can do more with it. And the reason I asked for the cellular capability is the positions that we are in, it would help with continuity of city government, because if we were to experience a disaster of some sort, you're not going to have access to Wi-Fi. You're still going to be able to send and receive messages, especially if you're using it for something like a command center or anything like that and trying to carry on city business. And that would give you the option of pinging off the cell phone towers.
So you want the cellular package?
Correct.
Go with it?
Correct.
You know that Representative Winslow just gave $4 million to the county to upgrade the broadband service in Granville.
That's great. A hurricane or a tornado hits, that broadband's not going to work.
I know.
Okay, thank you, sir. Commissioner Gleason, any comments or questions?
I see the need for upgrades. Not myself necessarily, but for the rest of the.
Mayor Pro Tem?
No, I have no questions.
Commissioner Kuczynski?
I wish we would do this stuff at budget time and not do it after the budget came out.
Well, we could be working for the state and we're still waiting for a budget.
Hey, and I do, thank you.
I'm still waiting.
Mike, did you say we could sell the ones we have?
I'm sorry?
Did you say what we could do with the ones, did you say we could sell them?
I give them $1 a piece.
Yeah, you're not for much. You won't sell for much.
That's what you get $20 a piece.
Exactly about right.
So the total cost with cellular, is that what we're looking at?
You can have the upgrade with or without the cellular feature. The difference is $6,000, $6,398 versus $10,414.
For every
6, yes, sir.
We need cellular. We're
Yeah,
running
well, that's what he's telling
We're
me.
running
saying.
without cellular right now.
but we shouldn't, is what he's saying.
But my thing is there's no continuity.
Right.
Let's say we have, heaven forbid, a disaster of some sort, the hurricane or tornado comes through, and it knocks out Spectrum,
Right,
which most of us have as our provider for our wireless in our house.
right.
How are you gonna get on your city device?
Right.
But a cellular package would override that?
A cellular package operates just like your cell phone.
Right. You can turn on the
Right, but then my
We don't have
question, because I'm
wireless.
ignorant in all this stuff, is wouldn't it take down the cellular towers too?
The cellular towers usually have a fail-safe with a backup.
Okay.
And since we're city government, our Verizon package more than likely has a clause in it for priority service. I know that as a carrier with Verizon myself, with my cell phone package, I have a first responder package and I have priority on the network.
Any other questions, Commissioner Kuczynski?
No.
Mr. Wilkins?
None at all.
All right,
See, we're gonna need another budget amendment, babe.
we got to get to that point, so we've all heard the numbers, we've all heard the request.
That's just discussion, Mr. Mayor.
Do what?
And that was just discussion. I mean, it can go on the consent agenda or we can talk about it again another time, but I just wanted to get the.
Well, it's whether anybody wants to make a motion now or not.
I appreciate the knowledge that we have down at that end when it comes to technology, because this is over my head.
Well, see, and that's why I was looking at the motion. I don't know I'm gonna learn anything new that Robert hasn't already told me.
Well, Ed could probably throw something in there, Ed.
Well,
I'll make a motion that you purchase the new iPads with cellular capability.
Amen to that.
good. Okay, motion is made by Commissioner Gleason as far as option B, would that be correct?
Yes.
Option B.
It's option B for $10,414.86. This is Apple's governmental price, so it's a very good price.
And since I don't have an iPad with cellular capability, am I in on that number?
Yeah.
We're all in.
Total of 6.
Okay.
All right, motion's on the floor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Yes.
Well, which one?
Yes.
Make a budget amendment next year.
Yeah, we'll do it that way.
It's getting late.
Okay, that was approved 5-0. All right, that does upgrades on 5K. 5L, 702 North Crescent Drive, authorization for involuntary compliance with proceedings. You know, I can mow that guy's grass without it.
No, you're not doing it.
I go by it every day and think, I need to mow this grass.
We have the mattresses and television stuff.
Drove by it today, sir.
You drove by it today. I did too. Those pictures were taken this morning. They are still in violation. Leif Kawaz and Lisa Gonzalez are the owners. They have been receiving our letters. They have not been maintaining their yard. So what this action here tonight would do is simply to authorize the city attorney to proceed with involuntary compliance remedies, which I think is a judge's order.
Yeah, let me know for change. This is, we'll eventually file a lawsuit seeking an injunction, ordering the property owner to bring the property into compliance. The judge will also ask the judge to, issue an order of abatement. Effectively, what that says is, if the property owner doesn't bring the property into compliance by some date that the judge will set, the judge will determine what a reasonable deadline would be. If they don't bring the property into compliance by that deadline, then the city is entitled to go onto the property and abate the nuisance to bring it into compliance with the city's ordinances, and then to tax whatever costs, the city incurs as a lien on the property. So, these generally move pretty quickly. If the property owner has not appealed the notice of violation, they have effectively admitted the factual allegations that are made in the notice of violation, so they don't really have an opportunity at this point to say, well, actually, my property is in compliance with the city's ordinances. So really, at that point, it's more or less, the judge will go before a judge. They may make some procedural arguments, and the city didn't follow the appropriate process. But the city's going to do a pretty good job.
I was thinking they may have moved out, but there was his truck, his Super B truck and another car there when I.
And if you notice the porch lights on, in the first picture, there's actually the porch light on in the garage.
Yeah, I've seen
We've seen garbage cans go back and forth.
Yeah, I've seen the front door
I
open.
was gonna say, we check the county records to see if there's got a noticeable attendance or anything?
We've not begun any of the legal proceedings to enforce, but, if they moved out, as long as they're still, it doesn't really matter who owns the property at that point, if they don't show up to court, the listed owner doesn't show up to court and defend, then we'll get a default judgment and, effectively get the relief we've asked.
Well, the thing with it is, and then I'm gonna let the mayor pro tem say something.
Yeah.
Certain members of this board have complained several times that we have no teeth in our ordinances, and I believe this would be a good teeth sharpening thing to do.
Let him know that we're not just picking on him.
Yeah.
Mayor pro tem.
Well, I make the motion to authorize the city attorney to proceed with involuntary compliance remedies.
All right, motion is made by the mayor pro tem. Is there any further discussion?
Can I ask just a question about, it says that it's their entire yard, their park strip. But it's not just their park strip, it's their whole yard,
Oh, yes,
correct?
yes, it includes both,
Yeah,
property and the park.
property, yeah.
All right, any further questions? Not seeing any, motion made by Mayor Pro Tem. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. City Attorney, you are authorized.
So if we get a judgment, can we collect it?
Well, that's
That's
a whole other
another
question.
problem.
Yeah.
It'd be just like the audit place.
Yeah.
All right, we move on to item 5M, which is October meeting, National Night Out. Probably gonna need a requested motion to, switch it to a different date. I'll turn that over to the city manager.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
while we're on that topic, we may want to consider the November meeting as well, since that's election night.
Yes, good point.
How did that discussion go in previous years?
We usually do
We
it
usually still have our meeting even
the
though.
day after.
No, I thought we were usually having them because election is at night. It doesn't really matter. You got plenty of time to vote all day
You and
long.
I had sat in El Corral over here waiting for the results to come in, so no, we weren't in a meeting. I know we
I
weren't.
wasn't invited to that.
You and Casey were sitting at the same table.
It does not matter. I don't see any reason to move it, but I'll do what the board wants to do, so.
Well, may I make the suggestion that both the dates just be moved to the Monday?
Yeah.
That would be October the 2nd instead of the 3rd.
Okay, and that's for, the October meeting,
Yes, sir.
October 2nd. All right, you want to do the November meeting too while you're making motions?
Yes, sir. I would like to make a motion to move the November meeting to the 6th in place of the 7th, which is also a Monday.
Well, y'all realize that,
Well, that takes care of November, we still got October to take care of.
well, we took care of October.
We did October.
What we do with October?
I made October's Monday the 2nd instead of the 3rd.
Okay.
I appreciate that. On November, that's my birthday, 7th.
Election
Well-
day's your birthday?
Yep.
When's your birthday?
Election day.
We'll throw a
We're all
party.
invited to his house.
We'll throw a party.
Come on with it.
I'll just let you know that, those first Mondays of the month, I have, regularly scheduled meetings from other communities.
Dang.
So y'all obviously are free to proceed without me. I'll see if I can,
Yeah, can you?
another one of the attorneys.
If you could, yeah.
available.
We'll do that, I'll take a look with
We need
city
somebody
manager.
for the
We'll-
October one.
We'll see if anything's on the agenda that we really have to have somebody.
Hey, we can save money.
There is that.
That's a good recommendation, Robert, on these dates.
I'm trying.
All right, we had the motion on the table, correct? Did we vote on it?
No, sir.
Okay.
I just throw you the dates.
Motion, yeah, we did. Mayor Pro Tem made the motion.
That was for
That's,
the draft.
okay. I'm getting too confused here, I'm getting
For
too
the
old.
draft, that's okay.
Okay,
We're on the end.
who made the motion?
I did, sir.
Okay, that was.
Would you like me to restate it for you?
No, I got it.
Okay.
Okay.
I do, 'cause I
But,
don't know what
yeah,
it is.
motion is, do the dates again.
I would like to replace the October meeting date, which was previously October the 3rd, which is going to be National Night Out. We're going to change that to October the 2nd, which is a Monday before. And I also made the motion at the same time to change the November meeting date from election night, November 7th, to Monday, November the 6th.
Yep. Okay.
And our city attorney will not be available on those.
I don't think that needs to be included in the motion. All right, we have a motion on the floor by,
The food and refreshments budget for the meeting order stage.
by Commissioner Way. All those in favor of the motion to make those two changes?
Aye.
Thank you. All those opposed?
So we'll celebrate National Night Out on my birthday.
That's what we'll do.
National Night Out is your birthday?
Yeah.
Look at that. Ed's birthday is National Night Out.
All right.
The chief will hold a
Take
party
care of
for
this
you.
meeting. One quick question. Chief, are we having a donut eating contest at the National Night Out this year?
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
That was fast. That wasn't even a thought.
I expect the rules to be followed this year.
I was not involved in that, sir.
Well, the guy sitting next to me, he's supposed to be the kid eats one and you eat all the rest of them. And the one that won it was telling the kid, eat here, you eat them too.
Have to get Joey Chestnut to show you how to do that, right?
Yep, hot dogs,
Stick
yep.
them more.
All right.
I make a motion to go into closed session.
Prior to my request for that, one thing I'd like to request to do is on a requested motion, if it's something you are doing, that's fine, but if it's a requested motion that's in the agenda and I'm reading it, please let me finish reading it. Just so the city clerk can have it like it's supposed to be.
Fair enough.
All right, now, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session. Motion's made by Commissioner Gleason. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Closed session.